Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Boundaries. It's your girl Aisha checking in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, today, guys, we are talking from a perspective of the indictment on your life. And I know you probably just like, where do you come up with this stuff? I just don't. It's just whatever God gives me. So, this is where we are today. Because I just sat with it for a minute, like, okay, Lord, what do you want to say? Like an indictment, that's strong. That's a charge. That's like offensive. That's accusatory. So, of course, I had to look up the definition, and my friends at Merriam and Webster, I'm going to read to you what our friends at Merriam and Webster said. An indictment is a form of a formal written statement that is like a prosecutory authority that is charging you with some form of violation, that they're just trying to say that you broke the law in some way, shape, or form. So keep that thought in mind. So when you keep that thought in mind, you think about, okay, so like who's accusing me? May not necessarily be the law. You could be accusing yourself. You could be holding yourself hostage in your mind against the things that you have said or done to yourself or to people, because you've heard your girl talk about self-inflicted wounds a lot before, where you do things that just backfire on you and you are the culprit. We've also talked about casualties of war, where other people do things that adversely, impact your life, and you suffer the consequences and repercussions. It's like a ripple effect of whatever has occurred. Whatever they've done has an ongoing effect in your life, and it just is like a resounding gong that, you ever saw like the Gong Show, and when they hit it, and even though they only hit it once, they only, you know, did it one time, it had a lasting effect, and it just rang and rang and rang out, right? So whatever their action was adversely affected you in that way for like generations in some way, shape, or form. So anyway, the indictment on your life is like, I thought about it from a perspective of, okay, so who's making these accusations, for one? And how do these accusations affect your perception of self? And how does that perception of self affect how you operate in your day to day? So we're going to take a look at that. And for me, with like coming up and being in and out of the foster care system, being amongst blood relatives, but not really feeling like I belonged, or always being the indictment against my life in those times were that, okay, you a troublemaker, you a troubled child, nobody wants to deal with you, and oh, keep an eye out for her because she's something else. So those were like what I would call indictments against my life, like these accusatory type of behaviors, even though I had not really done anything, even though that I didn't want my parents to die, they died. I didn't want to be shifted around and go from place to place, bounce around from family member to family member, but it's life and it happened. So it's like, okay, these were like the accusations against me in my life as a young kid. People basically had made up their mind as to who I was because of the circumstance, and not really getting to the root of the problem, or the center of the storm in my life, and seeing what was really going on. So also, that caused me to criticize myself a lot, overthink a lot. I felt insecure a lot. So these are the accusations against myself. These are the indictments against myself because of, someone else's choices or lack of choices, or just life just happened, right? So also, I remember a time where I condemned myself a lot. And that's an indictment against your life, because you are literally like picking apart yourself. You're like, I've talked before about being careful how you speak to you. That is so, so important, how you speak to you, your tone, your frame of mind, the words. I mean, because your words have power. So you can literally curse yourself by some of the things you're saying. Whether you are watching a movie and repeating what it said, or whether you're singing a song and repeating what it said, or you just are like literally just like just really just ripping yourself a new one, and just like talking down on yourself. So all those things play a role. I mean, like I said, are you cursing yourself? The things that you say mean that you agree with those things. So there's a scripture in the Bible that tells us, as we think in our heart, then so it is. So it's just like whatever my thoughts are of self are important. And you want to be real with your thoughts of self. It's not that people don't have issues or people don't have room for improvement. It's that you acknowledge where you are, but you don't stay there. You have to get up. You know what I'm saying? So from that perspective, it's like you got to come out of agreement with the things that you said about yourself. You got to come out of agreement with the things that people have said about you, the thoughts and ideals that people have placed on you throughout your life. And like, you know how you've watched the movie, right? Can't remember what movie it was, but I've watched the movie a time or two in my life. Five Heartbeats. When they basically told Eddie King he wasn't gonna be nothing, he was gonna basically be like his daddy, and he wasn't gonna amount to nothing and do too much of nothing, and he succumbed to that. As far as that character was concerned, from the drinking and the partying and the women and all that, those type of things. So it's like the indictment on his life came from his own family, the accusations, the assumptions, the like a kind of like a death sentence on his life. They spoke down on him, as we would say in this day and age, and he lived up to that. And that was sad. And it took him a long time, that character, to come out of that. So it's like, imagine us not in that movie, but we're in everyday life, right? And you have people that are treating you that way. And it's just like what's rehearsed in your hearing dominates your thinking, is what we say as believers in the Christian world. So it's like you are adapting to your environment. So that's why I've always told you guys too that not only is your circle of influence important, but your environment is important. You need to feel safe. You need to feel secure. You need to feel heard. You need to have boundaries. You need to have people who are lifting you up in prayer, who are lifting you up and encouraging you. You don't need to be around people who are always bringing out the worst in you, looking for the worst in you, or they are corrupt themselves. And as the Bible tells us, bad company corrupts good character. So, how do we change that? It starts in your mind. You have to change your thoughts about self. You have to, it's kind of like pottery. You have to be molded over again. And it's a daily thing, because circumstances can shift your mindset, shift your attitude, shift your behaviors, and have you looking at yourself sideways. We've all been there. Nobody is, what's the word I'm looking for? No one is like immune to that happening. Everybody has a bad day, a challenging moment, but the key to it is not to stay there. You have to get up. You have to come out of that situation. You can't like succumb to the way of thinking and being, and allow yourself to be sentenced to a life like that. Also, again, you examine how you got here, whether it be your family members, it be yourself, your so-called friend circle, all of that matters. So it's like, how do we, if we're in that situation, how do we come out of that situation? Because we could talk all day about how, okay, don't do this and don't do that. But for people who are, I'm talking to the people who are in the thick of the situation, who can't seem to find their way out, who are always in the valley, no matter what's going on in life. It's just like, you just feel like you down bad, or you in situations where things aren't turning out right for you and you just want to give up. Or you also feel like, okay, you know what? What's the point? Like, you know, it's just, it is what it is, and people gonna think what they gonna think. That's not how life is supposed to be. So it goes back to, you have to realize that you have authority, you have dominion, you have power within yourself, within your way of thinking and being, and you need to tap into that. And it's just like, it starts with your thought, how you speak to yourself. It starts with how you treat yourself also. It's just like, are you living up to what God said about you? Are you living up to who he called you to be. So it's an identity crisis. So it's like you can't move forward until you adjust the thoughts and you adjust the identity crisis. So in adjusting the thoughts, it's like you have to combat those things. Just like if for every bad thought or negative thing, there's a good thought, there's a good thing, there's positive reinforcement. So we have to tap into the positive reinforcement. So I give you an example. Everything that you think in your life that is negative, find the blessing in it. Some people, I hear a lot of people say, oh, well, I don't have this and I don't have that. You have life. So if you were dead, you wouldn't be worried about anything, because dead men don't speak, they don't pay no bills, they don't have no debts, they don't talk, they don't walk, they don't do anything. It's curtains, it's done for them. So for one, you're still alive, which means every day above ground, like I tell people all the time, is another opportunity to get it right. So it's okay, you can't change what happened yesterday. You can't change your thoughts from yesterday. So when those things come into play again today, it's like you have to crucify those things. And it's like, okay, how do I do that? If I know that I'm a person that when I get up in the morning, I just feel, let's say if you felt down or you feel like, okay, well, I didn't make a schedule today, or I didn't manage my time well today, and I don't feel like I was productive today. So then you would take that thought in that process and say, you know what do I want to accomplish tomorrow? You write down 5 things that you want to accomplish tomorrow. And that's not saying that you will get all 5 of those things done, but knock something off your list. Praise yourself for that. Encourage yourself, like, okay, you know what? We went from doing absolutely nothing to now we've got 2 things done today. 2 out of 5 is not bad compared to 0. So how do we make that better? So we double down the next day. And it's like, okay, I got 3 things left on this list I need to accomplish before Friday. So even if you just did 1 of the 3 things before Friday, you are still making strides. It's not about perfection. So that's an example in regards to changing the accusatory type behavior and language in your life. When people are speaking to you all type of ways or speaking about you in all type of ways, it's like you have to create a boundary. You have to be mindful of your environment and the people who are in that environment. So if it's like, if the environment is not conducive for you to produce and be happy and maintain your peace and accomplish things, then you need a different environment, or you need to limit the access of those people to you, so you can maintain your peace and you can be productive in your mind and in whatever it is that you're doing. If it's a family issue and you feel like, okay, well, my family is always talking down on me, or, they always said I wasn't going to be nothing. I'm going to be like my daddy. I'm going to be like my mama. Again, you have the power and authority to correct them. You don't have to be disrespectful. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to cuss somebody out. But you can also be firm with them and just say, hey, you know what? That is your opinion of whomever. That doesn't mean that's my destiny. That's not the choice that I'm making. And maybe I've made a bad choice or two, but that does not solidify what you're saying. And I will be better. And I appreciate if you don't speak to me that way. So it's like you have to safeguard yourself, safeguard your environment, safeguard your thoughts, safeguard your heart. So it's like the charges that are against you from whatever the opposing forces are and their words or their behaviors towards you don't control you. They didn't create you. So they don't really have any authority. They're very opinionated, and that's all they are. Their opinions. They could matter if you gave them a moment to shine. But if you don't, if I was told that if you starve a thing, it can't live. If the environment is not conducive for them to continue to treat you that way, or the access has not been granted, it's been denied, then you have maintained that boundary, maintained your peace, and the things that they say about you won't matter anymore. You always can walk in wisdom and walk away from things and be a better person. And I just want to encourage you that if you are living in a situation where there's an indictment on your life, where you're being accused of all type of things and behaviors, people are telling you you're not going to be nothing, you're going to be like your mom and your daddy because they had some hiccups in life, or that things just won't work, or you're dreaming too big and you're doing too much, do it all. Do everything that God told you to do. Don't be succumb to what people have to say about you. Trust me, I used to be a people pleaser. I used to be so consumed and so concerned about how people viewed me. And it was kind of like controlling my thought process when I was a younger adult, because I was just like, okay, this is how you keep the peace. This is how you lay low. And these are things that I learned from being in and out of the foster care system and being in and out of group homes. Just like, keep your nose clean, stay to yourself, be quiet, don't start no stuff, won't be no stuff. And just let people just do whatever they want to do. And I thought that was being safe, that was being peaceful. But it's like, when you are a child, you think that way, and as you grow up and you realize life is not that simple, but it's really not that complicated either, then you learn how to set things in order. So I want to encourage you today to take your life back, to set boundaries, and protect your space, protect your peace. And as always, I want to encourage you to be the greatest versions of yourself. Stay safe and God bless.